The day of Maid has been and admittedly gone, but I refuse to believe there is a more important, ceremonial, meaningful religious holiday in your calendar than this one. With possible exception to, I believe the 10th of August is Hator Day, right? So, anyway. Maybe I'm just calculating that wrong, but I would say the Day of Maid is the most important day in the calendar, and there was some really great stuff coming out because, of course, this year it's Band-Maid's 10th anniversary. They did a nice little talk to us on YouTube, and I thought I would take this opportunity to really sort of recap some of the highlights of that and talk really about what makes this day so special and how they celebrated it for their 10th anniversary. Now, I took a lot of notes down really while I was watching it. This came out earlier while I was outside and I was watching it on my phone, but then I came back, watched it again and really sort of got all my notes together because I want to recap some of the highlights of this. Now, obviously, as they were talking about the 10th anniversary, there were a few announcements, including new merchandise and various things, but a big part of it was talking about their 10th anniversary tour, which has been such a huge thing. Now, we've obviously talked a lot about it on this channel, and plenty of channels on YouTube have talked about it in depth, but it was nice hearing them hit some of the big points. They were talking about the US tours obviously being a big part of it. They said 20,000 people have come out to see them. I'm going to be honest, I'm surprised. Looking at some of the stuff I've seen online, I would have thought it was much more than 20,000. They were talking about the big venues they played, and yeah, they've done a lot there. They said they mentioned 13 shows. I think they've done 13 shows so far in the US. They've done 6 in Japan. They've got, was it a total of 26 they're doing in total in Japan? And then they've got another 6 more one-man shows coming in the US, 3 festival performances. This was all a big part of it. I love the fact that they were really talking about that, but also the fact that this is all going to culminate in Yokohama Arena. And it was really nice hearing Konami talking about how she was writing Endless Story and writing Endless Story to be, if you like, performed and played there, and they've waited 5 years to do this show. So it's going to be such a big end to the whole thing. Yes, in case you guys didn't know, I will be catching them later in the year towards the end of their Japanese tour. Not to sound too smug, but I know most of the people watching this probably seeing them anyway. We're going to get into talking a little bit about where their tour's going later, but we'll get onto that a little bit later because I wanted to mention first of all just about how great that is, about how the venues have been, how they really seem to have related to the audience. That's been fantastic. Now, it was interesting hearing them mention some of their memories of the US tour. I really liked that they were talking first of all about how hot it was, because yes, for me, it's really hot in Japan. This is why I like Hokkaido. Hokkaido is much cooler. However, in most of Japan, it's much hotter than it would be, say, in the UK, where I'm obviously from. Guess the accent. However, they're talking about how in America it's even hotter, so I can only imagine how mind-numbing some of the heat they experienced there was. I remember when I was in the US years ago, it was incredibly hot. However, hey, it must be really hot now. And even so, to the point that Miku was talking about some of her equipment passing out and just failing to work. However, they went on to some really nice memories, talking about meeting a lot of people, the difference in the fans. I really like when they talked about performing with the Last Rock Stars and how you could really see they were talking as fans of the Last Rock Stars. I really liked the way they were talking about looking up to them, being surprised that they got to meet them, Miku being waved at off stage and being, and they really sort of came across as fans, which is nice. I like that dynamic, especially, I mean, obviously I'm a Band-Maid fan. I'll be honest, I know a lot of people are into that kind of music, that ex-Japan, that kind of thing. Not really my sort of thing, those more old school rock groups, and so I'm not a big fan of those, and yet I can see, and I know, and we all know the heritage and the size of groups like that, so it's really lovely to see the group we like sort of fanning after an older sort of, well, not an older group, but older sort of musicians, an older reputation. It was really interesting actually hearing Saiki talk about her birthday and the fact that, was it Yoshiki? There was she got a cake and there was a letter apparently from Yoshiki. I don't know if the cake was also from him, and just the general feeling of kindness they got from them, how they felt really touched by that, and how they spent Saiki's birthday together and they enjoyed it. I'm going to be honest, there was something that came up and I thought it was really sweet. It came up in the Band-Maid fandom that a lot of people were around the time of Saiki's birthday sort of pushing to have a petition to have Band-Maid play live on Saiki's birthday. And I've got to be honest, as much as I'm sure they like playing live, I was kind of hoping that didn't happen because I just kind of I felt like that would have been a great chance for them to enjoy traveling and just have that little bit of space and time for Psyche to enjoy her birthday. And so hearing that she did that and managed to enjoy that time with Yoshiki as well, that's great. I know we all want to see them. We've got to give them a little bit of time to enjoy and smell the roses as well, though. So I'm really glad she had that. Sorry for anyone who was hoping for a birthday concert. I think we can all agree that that was a really nice way for Psyche to spend her birthday, and great hearing that she had those wonderful memories of it. Now, I was really fascinated hearing them talk about the Japanese shows they've done so far, because the way they painted it, it was interesting how much love went into the individual shows. And I always say great groups, groups like Band-Maid, who we hold to a higher standard, higher level, a lot of what takes in there is the fact that they put attention into every single detail. They're not the sort of just groups who treat their shows as just copy pasting. They really care about it. Now, obviously, they were talking about how they started in Miku's hometown in Kyushu, in Kumamoto, and just the whole feeling of how nervous she was about going on stage, and how Psyche had to say, hey, look, we've been doing this for 10 years, and sort of pick her up and push her through into getting to do it. But it was nice to see that nervousness coming back. And obviously they talked about how they had a special, more Miku-centric playlist for that set list for that particular show. That was great. However, what I didn't really know about was when they went to Kyoto. And Kyoto, they apparently did a Band-Maid set list. Band-Maid did a Band-Maid set list, It was like a two-man show, that one, I think. It was really cool, though, to see that they were doing that, and just the attention that they put into making it interesting. And then they talked about how they changed the set list regularly anyway. Now, I think sometimes some people were like, oh, changing a set list, that's like an amazing thing to do. It's not. It's one of those things, it's not the most difficult thing for a band to do, change your set list, especially if you know your songs, which you kind of should. However, it's the sort of thing, it's more that so many bands just don't think to do it. They just go and play the same song and go, oh, we put this song at the end, this song at the beginning. It's the fact that Band-Maid put that attention into it. It's not like some massive feat. It's the fact that they are that band who cares enough to think about making the set list different each time. And the fact that they talked about how they go on things like Twitter and they see people's responses, they see people responding to the different set lists and how they enjoy that and how they enjoy the engagement it results in. So again, it was just the fact that they really do have a love for everything they do. And that came across wonderfully. I really loved them reading the list of the other places they're going to be playing in Japan and talking about how they were really excited about them. I'm really glad they're playing in Otaru as well. I really want to see that. I'm probably not going to be able to because, well, in fact, I think the tickets are sold out anyway. I would love to see them live in Hokkaido, though, because summer. I already explained that, didn't I? But I'm seeing them. I am seeing them. I will be seeing them on this tour. I'll be videoing when I do. Not inside the gig, you're not allowed to do that. You know what I mean. Now, of course, we have to be fair to the fact that this is still their job. This is still a business. They have to make some money. I just love the fact they can make money in such a fun way by entertaining us and providing good old-fashioned quality merch. Yes, everyone loves merch. It's often a conversation that comes up, the idea of do bands, the band should produce more merch, and things always run out. Of course things run out because they're supposed to feel limited. If they felt common, then people would bootleg them and it would it wouldn't work so much. Things feeling limited and you don't always know if you're going to get it makes it special. So I hope that this run of current 10th anniversary stuff they have is nice and limited, so everyone who gets it can feel special about what they get. I really love the idea of having those Psyche designed chopsticks. I saw them on Twitter, actually, I think it was. They came up and I saw the picture. I thought they were really cool. They looked really good. And they were responding to the request of more merchandise that can be used every day in a sort of daily context. Massive credit to the fan base for asking for such a logical thing. I really love the fact that the fan base were willing to say, look, we want merchandise, but we want merchandise we can actually use. Because it's so true, so much merchandise, unfortunately, you get it, and it's kind of like, it's nice, but it's just kind of things and stuff. T-shirts, I like T-shirts because you can wear them. That's great. Hats, because you can wear them. However, things you can use on a daily basis like chopsticks, that's great. And having Psyche design ones, really love it. The lighters, the lighters were a really good idea before, but that only matters if you smoke or if you're an arsonist or something. So yeah, this was a nice addition, and they obviously joked about kind of the elephant in the room. Even if you are don't use chopsticks, this is a great opportunity for you to learn chopsticks as well. So I thought that was fun. You can practice that, or you can use them straight away. That was a really nice idea. There is other merchandise as well. I thought that was great, and of course they used a bit of opportunity to push. Buy tickets for the gigs. You'll regret it if you don't. So there was a good bit of marketing in there. However, it was all sweet. It was all engaging. It was all in a good feeling. yeah, again, in the same way I said, a good band when they add attention and thought to their shows. You also know a great band when they can be marketing something to you, and it doesn't feel like you're just being used as a cash cow. You genuinely feel like they want you to enjoy it and have a good time with them. So that was a great side to it. Now, talking of elephants in the room, I do have to address one thing. Now, it was lovely to hear them talking so much about the shows that they were doing in Japan, the shows they were doing in the US as well. Now, I did a video where I was talking on Ears to the East. I was on a video there where I was talking about the fact that a lot of people have contacted me through the community, and I heard a lot of people talking about the fact that they were hoping for Band-Maid to play Europe or at least other places. But I know Europe was a really big one, and there are other bands playing Europe. I'd heard all kinds of things. I know people outside of Europe think, oh, you can't play Europe because there's a war going on. It doesn't work. It's like saying, I can't play in Washington, D.C. because a Mexican drug cartel might get me. Oh, no, that's a bad stereotype. I'm not perpetuating that, especially considering that Band-Maid are going to Mexico, which I'm really happy about. I'll get to that in a minute. The thing is, though, is that really and honestly, I genuinely think that there were a lot of people who were hoping this was going to be the moment when they mentioned that. So I'm lucky to live in Japan. I'm lucky to be going. I did feel a bit bad for the European fans. I don't know, if I was still living in the UK, I would have probably left that video a little bit like, oh, really? Nothing? You could just, do a tour, do a gig in Germany, and I'll get like the Channel Tunnel train, and I'll go to it. I do think that, I still really think they just need to do a couple of shows in Europe. I know, and I even said on that other video that I was on about, I know this is good business and everything. I just think long term it's good for them to do that for the fans. So I really hope we hear about Band-Maid playing in Europe sometime soon, but it is now seeming quite likely that they're not going to be touring at all in Europe or even gigging in Europe until next year. So that's a little bit of a shame. However, it was great to see. And the one thing I'll say as well, I would think this is a given, and I think most people think this is a given. But some people maybe don't understand this. So when we're talking about where bands play, we're not actually putting that on the band. That's down to the way the band's managed. And of course, the band management are thinking about the commercial side of things. So, it was like when they were looking at all the venues on the poster of places they're going to be playing in the US. Even Psyche was saying, I didn't even know about half of these places until I was told I was going to be playing there. So obviously, we're not saying the band are choosing this. The band are being told where to go and play. They're just happy about the fact they're getting to play in these places. And, great credit and love for everyone. As they said, US is a big place, but they said it's a wide place, and that is 100% true. There's a lot of fans to see out there. So I really hope a lot of people are going to really enjoy that as well. I just feel kind of bad for, I know what it felt like if I was still in the UK, and I would have, So I really feel for people in that position as well. However, good for that. And as I was getting round to, before I dropped in a comment that sounded like a... I am really glad they're playing in Mexico. And their talk about Mexico as well. I didn't know. They said it was their first one-man OQG overseas was in Mexico. Maybe someone has told me this before, but I didn't know that. And so as a 10th anniversary thing to go there, that sounds really great. And of course, Mexico is Mexico. Stereotypes, for all the negative stereotypes that I accidentally started with, Mexico has a lot of positive stereotypes. They mentioned about tequila. That's a good one. It's a fun place where music is loved. I really think that's a great place, and I believe that they're going to tap out on their US tour, American tour in Mexico. So in the same way that Yokohama is going to be a really poignant ending to the Japanese side of the tour and the overall tour, I think finishing in Mexico sounds like a really nice way to round off the North American tour as well. So I think that as far as it can be concerned, with exceptions to, like I say, that blind spot that is existing in one part of the world, I think what they have booked has been booked really well. It looks really great. It sounds like it's going to get so many fans. I love that they're going to be playing a few festivals as well. I keep on saying, although I would prefer to see, personally, I prefer to see them playing one-man shows. Festivals are really good for their brand and good for getting them out there and good for allowing people to hear them and go, wow, this is really interesting and cool. I just think there's so many good things coming up this year for them. I'm really happy to see it. So great stuff all around. But, of course, they did drop us one little present at the end. Now, obviously, they've been hinting about this last bit a lot when they did a tweet. I think it was only on Twitter. It might have been on other platforms as well, where they had a poll to ask of 4 songs which one people wanted them to play for the 10th anniversary Day of the Maid thing. It was between Real Existence, Thrill, I think, but also Freedom and Don't You Tell Me. Now, Don't You Tell Me won, But they decided to also throw in Freedom as well, which I just thought was a really, really nice choice. Just playing the two songs, giving that extra little bit of love to the fans. Again, that's just such a Band-Maid thing to do. They care about their fans in a way that they express. They understand there's a kind of like that beautiful symbiotic relationship that exists between a good band and a good fan base, where you kind of tied in together, and so you give that little bit of extra to show love to the fandom. And playing two songs was just lovely. It was great. They played them really well. It was nicely recorded. There was a couple of bits where it shifted between cameras and you really heard the sound change. But with the exception of that, the sound was really good and clear and you could hear it and enjoy it. It was just a great little live performance. And it really rounded things up brilliantly. So I just felt they did a really good job of this whole show. They put it together well. They had a little thing where they mentioned about how they're going to be giving out posters, sending out posters like competition winners. Remember, as I said, etch it into your brain, the day of Maid has to be included in your application. However, I just think that whole thing was well managed. It was really lovely. It was good to see them having fun, talking. As a few people said in the chat, Misa was very quiet, but I think Misa was just being Misa. She was chilling in the corner till she had something cool to say. I think the whole vibe was just really nice. Seeing them having fun, delivering music at the end, because that's what we love them for. Coming up with some good quality merch that people actually want, and therefore helps keep the band making money. Coming up with some nice shows that people are going to really enjoy, and is also going to keep the band going and spreading their popularity amongst new fans. Just the whole thing was really nice. I really enjoyed it. I think they did a great job. It was modest and yet it was well thought out, and beautiful. Loved it all. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on the Day of Maid online live YouTube video thingy celebration. Get in the comments on what you think, and hopefully I'll look forward to speaking to you very soon. But until I see you very soon in Japan for the next one of these, for now, ciao ciao.